I am writing this book to help people suffering from OCD. There are many people who lost their hope of recovery, struggling to find the cause of their disorders. I would like to lift their burden. There is one meaningful phenomenon I observed after posting articles and videos on OCD on web for a long time. Many people with OCD responded that their symptoms were eased just by reading my articles and watching my videos. Here is one example of such response. There was a compulsive behavior that I had for more than 20 years. I started to watch your video casually, but it somehow caught my attention. After watching it till the end, I suddenly felt cured. Now I don't have to fear the remaining feelings of anxiety, I just have to look at it as an emotional passage that I have to walk through. I am doubly grateful. I found comments like this really interesting. It wasn't just about the number of people that contacted me, it was about how strongly people who had been suffering from OCD could relate to my articles and videos. They told me that my insights on OCD are different from the conventional ones. This distinction, according to them, gave them special stimuli. Counseling OCD patients, I also found face-to-face that when people can deeply relate to what are being said about their OCD, they could relieve their symptoms much faster. So, I decided to disseminate my analysis more widely to help people suffering from OCD, to provide them with the treatments they need. Some people out there will relate to the causes and treatments of OCD that I will introduce in this book. My methods will work for those who I sincerely wish to help. That's the reason why I decided to write this book. By introducing my analysis to the world, I know that I will be able to help people suffering from OCD. The field of OCD is still highly unexplored. It is hard to lift OCD symptoms with drug treatments, but there aren't any alternative treatments OCD patients can resort to. They suffer immense pain. To make things worse, ordinary people who never experienced OCD have hard time understanding OCD patients' pain. People with OCD tend to keep their problems to themselves in fear of being treated as a freak. But when symptoms are hidden, they tend to get worse. A lot of people come to me discouraged after experiencing various unsuccessful conventional treatments. I think they were trying to clutch at straws. It was their courage to face their problems that encouraged me to write this book. So I wrote this with a sense of duty to introduce a new point of view looking at OCD. I hope that this book sows seeds of hope in the barren minds of OCD patients. I am also glad to know that in some people's minds, bright flowers of hope are already blossomed. When we are working machines or even working our own bodies, we rarely think about operating mechanisms. We don't know how cars run, how televisions are designed, or how biochemistry in our body works. But we don't experience any inconvenience. However, it becomes a totally different story when these mechanisms start to malfunction. For the first time, we are obliged to analyze the interior structures of these machines. We tend to get discouraged when we find them too difficult to understand. Especially, when you are experiencing these malfunctions for the first time, the difficulty in understanding gets combined with the uncertainty of finding solutions. This combination brings about even worse anxiety. That's the reason why people turn to specifications or specialists. However, there seem to be no specifications or specialists that we can turn to when we are dealing with OCD. When we stay anxious for a long time, we tend to look ourselves as the cause of our problems. We are feeding ourselves with lies when we are doing this. Lies keep us stuck in the mud, making it ever harder for us to escape. After all, we need to look for the truth. That's the only way we can get rid of our uncertainty. We need to find exact solutions to do away with our anxiety. I want this book to be an easy-to-read specification to you, the reader of this book. Please be patient and read this book from cover to cover. I am sure that this will help you to understand the causes of your OCD and the ways to solve it. You will be able to manage some parts of your anxiety. But there is one promise you have to make before you open this book. You need to accept that you have been wrong. People with ordinary hysteria tend to think that other people have answers to their problems. That is the reason why they tend to be dependent and resentful at the same time. They are in a situation where they lock themselves in other people. On the contrary, OCD starts when people delude themselves that they have answers. When these delusions harden, they get locked inside their own delusions. People develop OCD when their self-righteous egos grow too strong. Instead of breaking, their egos become the hideouts they use to evade their problems. This is the reason why you, the reader, have to accept that you may have been completely wrong. To make a start, you must accept this. Everyone can be wrong. That's how everybody grows up. It is okay to be wrong. You will have to start from that point. The life of a person who can never be wrong would be hell on earth. Your mind that refuses to acknowledge might be one of the causes of your pain. Let me introduce you a definite truth. Even if you keep your obsessive behaviors that you think will solve your problems for next 10 to 20 years, your anxiety will not go away. You are just deluding yourself. This is why you have to acknowledge that there is a chance that the things you have been believing up to now may be completely wrong. In general, when two people disagree, we tend to pacify the situation with the saying, "Not wrong, just different." However, our case is not about differences in minds, it is about being right and wrong. Reading this book would be futile if you cannot acknowledge this. Let everything go. Let go of your old ways and go back to a child without OCD that you once were. Stop feeding your OCD. You have to think that you are unlearning everything and starting from the beginning. You have to accept deep down in your heart that what I am going to tell you from now on may be the analyses closest to the truth. You have to, emotionally, experience this acceptance as strongly as you can. You will have to read this book repeatedly and imprint its contents to your mind. I am sure that your symptoms will be relieved once you do. Last but not least, please take time and carefully think over the contents of this book. I only included the contents that were proved to be effective, the ones that combine knowledge with real-life cases. The book is composed in a way to guide you to understand minor points little by little at the beginning. Gradually, you will get to understand key points. That's the reason why you have to read every chapter from start to finish. Everyone will get stimuli for their recovery from different parts of this book. I will be more than pleased if you can relieve your symptoms by understanding and acknowledging what I am trying to say through this book. Now I will begin.